Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem, and welcome back to today's Daf Hayomi, the last and final Daf of our very dear Masechta, Zevachim. So on Kuf Chaf, we're actually starting Kuf Yotes Hamad Beis. A couple of words from the end of the Yamid. Boy Rabbi Zera. We spoke about, the Mishnah gave us a listing, a printout of differences between a Bama Gedola, right, the general public Bama, versus a private Bama Ktana. There are various halachas that only apply in one and not in the other, in the Gedola and not in the Ktana. Now here's an interesting question. By Rabbi Zera, posed by Rabbi Zera. Oilas Bamas Yachid. So this fellow was Magdash and Oila, with the intention of offering it as, private bama. And he shechted it outside. Fine, so far so good. We're talking when the bamas were permissible, okay? And then he decided, I'm going up to the grand bama, to the public bama, let me bring it in there, into the mechitzas there, and offer it there. Shechnisa lefnim, he took it inside. And then changed his mind again, he took it back out. What's the status of this carbon? Does it revert back to the Bama Ktana, Hakrava system, which is a very limited, doesn't have all those added elements? Or do we say once he entered the Bama Gdoila domain, he gets absorbed within it and gets an upgrade? In which case you have to bring it back in there. Even if you took it out, it belongs back in there, and you apply all those various elements that pertain to Bama Gdoila to this carbon as well. It is now relabeled as a Bama Gdoila carbon. So which way is it? So again, he did it outside, took it inside, and then brought it back. Shall we say, given the Ayla, once he took it inside, the mechitzas have now absorbed it, and it obtains that status. Or you can say once he took it back out, he reverts back to his old status, and now gets that downgrade again, and is offered and processed like a Bamas Yachid. Well, says the Gemara, this is already an old discussion. Lav hainu plug to the Rabbi Yosef. Isn't this the subject matter of a dispute between Rabbi and Rabbi Yosef? We'll discuss a similar phenomenon. This now we have a Mishnah, Kodesh Kadashim Shachtim B'Doran. So you have an Oila Chatas Kodesh Kadashim, whose shchita is meant to take place in Safain, in the north of the Azar. It was done in the south, so it's possible. Just Malon on the Mizbeach. Mayalben, since it was not processed properly, the Me'ilah status is still there. And if one diverts it, he committed Me'ilah. Now the question is like this. Suppose he put it on the Mizbeach. Okay, it's up. All right, we discussed this many times. The Mizbeach has now absorbed it stays there. What if you took it back down? So some actually have a different gersa. That the Bachas gerus. But in this case, Yiboilu Olu, they switch it to Olu. Suppose it was put on the Mizbeach. So typically, again, this type of carbon, right, a carbon that's puzzle, once it's on the Mizbeach, you leave it there. But here it's different. It's slightly different because the shchita took place in the wrong location. Maybe it's even worse. It's a non-starter. So the question was asked. Alu, they switched it to Alu. Once it was put on the Mizbeach, Ma'osh Yerdu, is it meant to be taken off? Or do we say, no, once it's on the Mizbeach, it stays there. Rabba Amar, Yerdu, you gotta take it off. Rav Yosef Amar, Imalolo Yerdu. Rav Yosef says, no, once it's up there, you leave it there. Because the Mizbeach has sanctified it. It stays there. So what do we see from here? That according to Rabba, a Mizbeach will not be Mekadosh, a carbon which is shechted in the wrong location. Likewise, in the story of the carbon of the Bama Ktana, that was shechted outside, and then was taken into the Bama Gdoila territory, it doesn't relate to this territory. It's considered being shechted outside of the mechitza in the wrong place, relative to the bama gdoila, right? So it doesn't relate to the bama gdoila, and therefore, certainly if you take it back out, you can process it outside. But according to Rav Yosef, who holds that a oila that was shechted in darim, wrong location, wrong makim. Nevertheless, once it's on mizbeach, it stays there. So likewise, in the carbon that was shechted outside by the bama ketana, once it's inside, it belongs here. So even if you take it back out, you got to bring it back in. Perhaps it would depend on this machlekes. Well, says the Gemara, not so quick. Perhaps it does not connect at all to this machlekes. Why? Tiboy l'Rabba, Tiboy l'Rav Yosef. This question that we ask can be posed according to Rabba and Rav Yosef. It's not clear either way. Why? Tiboy l'Rabba can be posed according to Rabba. So again, we're speaking when he shechted his carbon outside. It was meant for a bama ketana, then he took it in, he took it back out. Question is, does it belong back in there or not? Tiboy l'Rabba. This can be posed according to Rabba. Why? Ad kan lo kama Rabba. Perhaps when Rabba says that a carbon shechted in the wrong location has no business being on the mizbeach, ela b'mizbeach, that's strictly regarding mizbeach, which has very specific guidelines, very specific powers. The chazile, only something which is suitable, fit for the mizbeach, mekadosh, gets positively affected by the mizbeach, but not something which is unsuitable. Lechazi, le mekadosh, something which is not chazi, something which doesn't belong on, something which was shechted in the wrong location. It's a non-starter. It doesn't belong in the mizbeach. Aval mechitza, but regarding mechitzas, partitions, enclosures, such as the one around the bama gdoila, perhaps it's different. Once you're in there, you're in. Even something which is not really meant for this area, it was shechted outside. In fact, kolta, perhaps it gets absorbed in the mechitzas and meant to stay there. It gets an upgrade. Or dilma. On the other end, you could say, I feel Rabbi Yosef. You don't go to Rabbi Yosef. This question could be posed. Ad kan like Rabbi Yosef Hasan. Perhaps only over there by the carbon that was shechted in the wrong side of the azara. Does he say once on the mizbeach you leave it there? Ela dachad makumu, because after all it's the same room. This side of the azara, that side, it's close enough. So once on the mizbeach, it stays on the mizbeach. But in our story, the Trei Mekayim Pesnina, we shechted it outside a totally different location. Perhaps it doesn't relate to the inside. On the other hand, you can say no difference between the two halachas. Just like when you shechted the wrong side of the azara, it relates likewise over here. Take it, we leave it as an unresolved question. Now, Milsa, the pshita le'rava b'chad gisa, or l'Rav Yosef b'chad gisa. Now, this halacha that we just discussed regarding a carbon that was shechted in the wrong place, the azara, and then put on the mizbeach. So to Rabbi it was clear, b'chad gisa, in one direction, that you take it right off. On the other end, to Rav Yosef was clear in the other direction, b'chad gisa, you leave it on there. So this very question, Rabbi Yana, in fact, had a shayla, had a question about it. It wasn't clear to him how to proceed. The Rabbi Yana, because Rabbi Yana posed the question like this: so you have the parts of an oila that was meant for a bamas yachid and shechted outside, and then afterwards he took it into the bamas tzibur, bama gedola, and then something happened to it. It became possible, it became tamei, and actually it was placed on the mizbeach. So it's sitting on the mizbeach, shalom mizbeach. Ma'u sheyerdu. What's the status regarding being removed? Should you take it off or not? Does it get absorbed into the mizbeach or not? And according to the gerus that we have in our page, when the fire of the mizbeach has not yet taken a hold of it, there's no question he'd take it off. The question would be, if the fire had somewhat affected it, somewhat charred it, what's the status? So bottom line is, Rabbi Yanai was posing a very similar question. Something which was really shechted in the wrong outside, different location. and then some mishap occurred, and it's on the Mizbeach. Does it come off or not? This is pretty much what Rabbi Rav Yosef had discussed. Take it, we leave it unresolved. Now comes an interesting question. We know that in the Mishkan or the Beis HaMikdash, Hakravos, Shchitos take place during daytime. B'yoyim tzavos, right? What about in a private bama? Are we limited to daytime activity, or even nighttime activity is okay? Itmar. So we had a discussion in the Beis HaMedrash. Shchitas laila b'bamas yachid. You shecht at night. Nebamas yachid. Is it okay or not? There's a machlekes between Rabbi Shmuel. Chad Amar Ksheira, one says it's okay, v'Chad Amar, other one says psul. So what's the machlekes about? We come miflegi with Rabbi Lazar. Machlekes is regarding Rabbi Lazar's presentation, because Rabbi Lazar had an apparent contradiction between two psukim regarding a korban that was done in a bamas yachid. So Rabbi Lazar Rami Kroya Dadi, he had a contradiction between two psukim. Ksiv in one pasuk it says Vayomer begadatem goylu elai hayom even gedola. So Shaul built a mizbeach during daytime, apparently because you could only be makriv on a bamas yachid during daytime. Uksiv then the next pasuk, it sounds like nighttime was perfectly fine. Vayomer Shaul putzu ba'am b'amartem lahem hagishu elai ish shoyra v'yisiyeh, you bring me the animals u'shachattem bozeh v'achaltem and shecht and eat l'sechtu Hashem lechel el hadam, and they conformed. They brought their animals and they shechted at night. So is nighttime okay? Two ways to resolve this contradiction. Mar Meshani. So one answered, well, kan be chulin, kan be kachim. The pasuk which speaks about daytime activity, that's karbanis. The other pasuk which allows nighttime, that's regular personal consumption animals. Umar Meshani, the other opinion disagrees. He says, kan bekache b'makdoila, kan bekache b'maktana. The pasuk which limits it to daytime, that's by the b'makdoila. But the pasuk which allows nighttime is by the b'maktana. So according to him, in a b'maktana, you can do shchita and akrav at night. Itmar. Another question. What about the hefshit, the flaying of the skin of the oila or nituach, breaking it apart? Does that apply even in a bamaktana or not? Itma, oila is bamas yachid. An oila brought into a private bama. Rav says, ain't to hefshit nituach. You don't need to hefshit nituach. That's only by a carbon in a central mizbeach. Verbiech Amar, even in a private mizbeach, to hefshit nituach. What's this machlekes based on? V'kam miflegi b'd Rabbi Yisrael Glili. The question is regarding Rabbi Yisrael Glili's opinion. The son of a brisa which quotes him, Rabbi Yisrael Glili Omer. That famous oila, sheikruvu Yisrael b'midbar. The Yisrael will makriv in the midbar right before Matan Torah. Ain't to hefshit nituach. It did not require this hefshit nituach process. Why? She'ein hefshit nituach ela oil moed be'elach. Because only once the oil moed was standing, that's when the discussion, the parsha, the psukim, and Vayikra, which make mention of Heshev Nituach, were presented. But anything that happened before that, such as the oil that we just discussed, did not require Heshev Nituach. Okay, so that's his opinion. Now, we're going to have two ways of interpreting, of applying this opinion. Mar Sava, Rabbi Yechon holds. So we only exclude the karbanos before oil moed. Me'es oil moed ve'elach, but once oil moed was standing and forward, meaning any oila, even in a private bama, lo yishna bama gdoila, lo yishna bama ktana, irrespective of location, requires hefshet and nituach. Omar Sava, Rav disagrees. He says, b'bama gdoila in, b'bama ktana loy, that when basically says that these apply to oila after oil moed was standing, that's only in oil moed in a central area, but not in a private setting. Okay, so according to Rabbi Yechanan, there is hefshet v'nituach in a bama ktana, and not according to Rav. Tani kama said Rabbi Yechanan. We have a brayso which supports Rabbi Yechanan that there is hefshet v'nituach in a bama ktana. Dvarim shebein bama gdol bama ktana. The following items are only applicable in a bama gdol, not in a bama ktana. Keren, right, the corner, the protrusion coming off the top of the mizbeach, the kevesh, the ramp, the yisoy, the base and the bottom, we bought the squareness bama gdoila only. But not a b'maktana, v'ein keren, v'yisoy, v'kevesh, v'rubo b'maktana. Next, kior, right, the washing station, v'kana in the base of it, That's only b'magdoila, but not vein kir v'kani b'magtana. Likewise, chadav v'shoik, the parts of the shlamim, the toida that goes to the kohen, is only b'magdoila, and not vein chadav v'shoik b'magtana. However, dvarim shavsa b'magdoila b'magtana, the following items. There's no difference between a gdoila and a ktana. They apply in both places equally. Shchita, right? That applies b'magdoila uktana, and hefshes v'nituach. There you go. B'gdoila uktana. What else? Dam mata, the fact that you need to apply the blood to permit the animal for consumption. Umefagel, likewise, an erroneous thought during the hakrava of the dam. Choslam kaima makes pigel. That applies equally b'gdoila b'ktana. Likewise, a requirement to exclude mumen, blemished animals. Uzman, the time frame for consumption of karbanis. That applies equally in all locations. B'ba magdoila uktana. Right, so that's a right to Rabbi Yochanan, as we explained. Now the Mishnah concluded, aval, noiser, vazman, vatame. All these items, the halacha of noiser, leftover material, vazman, that it has a specific time frame. You can't have intentions of offering it past that time frame, lest you run into pigel, right? Vatame, all the halachas of tame. You can have a tame doing the akrav or consuming the animal. Shavan b'zeh apply equally to v'gdoila uktana. Taner Rabbanan, so we learned in the Brisa. How do we know this to be true? Menayin last is zman. B'ba maktana k'ba magdoila. How do we know that zman, which means the halachas of pigel, apply in ektana, just as a gdoila? Amra Torah. Torah says, look, lon yisarif, a pigel yisarif. When something was left over, beyond its time, carbon material gets burnt. Upigel yisarif, and likewise, pigel gets burnt as well. Ma, the Rashash switches it to ma lon pasal b'bama, just like when something was left beyond its time, that's deficient, that's considered pasal, even if it's a carbon that was born in a bama ktana, as we're going to see later in the Gemara. Let's assume that all the halachas of pigel apply to a bama ktana as well. Af pigel pasal b'bama, says the Gemara. Who says? Oy klachel derech su. Perhaps we'll make a different type of comparison with a different conclusion. The Amra Torah, look, Torah says, lon yisarif, yaitze yisarif. Something which experienced lina, you have to burn it. Likewise, a carbon that left the Beis HaMikdash, yisarif, has to be burnt. Now, yaitze certainly doesn't apply by a bama, doesn't have confines, doesn't have machitzes. It's all open. Ma yaitze, just like when something left the area, kasha b'bama. If it's a carbon for a bama ktana, has no machitzah, so the concept of yaitze is not a problem. Af lan kasher b'bama, likewise something which had lina should be okay by a bama. And if that's the case, that disrupts the whole foundation. We can no longer substantiate that pigel applies in a bama. It was based on the fact that lina applies, but if we sort of dominoed affected, we cancelled yaitze, which cancelled lina, which cancelled pigel. Says the Gemara, we have another source. Based on al from bird karbanis. And that will prove to us that pigel applies in a bama ktana as well. Look, bird animals that are unaffected by a slight blemish, you can still be makar of them. So that have that sort of advantage, that leniency. Zman poisel behen. But all the halachas of pigel apply to birds as well, right? Rashi brings it to Gemara back on Daf Mem Dalet. Certainly, kachi b'maktana, karbanos which are destined for b'maktana, shamum poisel behen, which are affected by blemishes, they have to be unblemished, right? Einay din zman poisel behen. Let's assume for sure that zman affects them as well, which means to say they're susceptible to halachas of pigel. Well, how could you compare? Perhaps bird karbanos are more strict, the most severe, because a zar, a non-kohen, cannot process oifos, as opposed to a bamaktana, where we learned that even a non-kohen can be makriv. So perhaps because it has that leniency, it's immune to pigel as well. Timer bamaktana, as opposed to bamaktana, shazar kashaba. And if that's the case, perhaps we can speculate and suggest that lo yehi zman pasul ba, that the zman would not be an issue. Talmud Lema. Comes the pasuk and says like this: V'zois Torah Zevachim. And Torah, as we know, is an inclusive, an encompassing term, which says all types of shlamim, which means a shlamim in a bama gdoil and a shlam in a bama ktana will be treated the same. And Rashi points out this is the pasuk, which leads into the discussion regarding pigul over there. So the pasuk is teaching us that all the halachos, right, that are discussed there, whether it's a question of time frame of a korban, how long you have to eat it, beyond that, which becomes nicer, right? All the halachos, and the intention of processing to get past its time, anything related to time, will now apply equally to a just as in a bama gdoila, it applies in the bama ktana as well. And Rashi says we have the time frame, we have the halachos of pigul, we have the halachos of tamei as well. Lasos, this tells us lasos that we treat a bama ktana like a bama gdoila. Lasos zman to apply the halachos of zman of a bama ktana, just as kizman of a bama gdoila. Okay, so in conclusion, we discussed a case where the korban of a bama ktana was taken into the bama gdoila and taken back out. What do you do then? We discussed whether you can do nighttime hakrov in a bama ktana machlekes, whether hefshes v'netuach is applicable in bama ktana machlekes again. But there are many halachas which apply equally, noiser, right, zman, tamei, etc., that apply in both settings equally. Hadron lach paras chatos eslikala maseches Zevachim. Baruch Hashem, we finished Gevaldige Masechta. You know, it's interesting that we learn so much about bringing karbanos, which of course, till Mashiach comes, right? Nowadays, we're unable to do so. But certainly we can tap into the powers of karbanos, first of all, by learning. Right? The Gemara tells us at the end of Menachos, actually, that when you learn the psukim, the mishnayos, the gemaras, and discuss and delve into the topics of the karbanos and the halachos that are connected to the karbanos, it's as though we are bringing karbanos. Furthermore, the Gemara elsewhere says that, in contrast to a person who brings a korban, as noble as it is, but it's a limited type of experience. You bring an oila, okay, you're credited for an oila. You bring a shlamim, you get credit for a shlamim, but that's it. Says the Gemara, but if a person is makriv himself to Hashem, he's ma'aseh nefesh to Hashem, he humbles himself and accepts all that Hashem gives him. B'simcha, b'ava, b'tmimis, b'ramuna. Ki'ilu hikriv nafshay. It's as though he sacrifices his entire life, his entire being, which is way greater than a specific korban. A korban merely represents a certain aspect of a person, but imagining sacrificing the whole person himself, ma'aseh nefesh, and b'markav the ganze mensch, the whole neshama. So that certainly we can relate to today. We have the opportunity to be ma'aseh nefesh on all accounts, in all situations, difficult moments, challenging moments, to be ma'aseh nefesh, to have the right attitude, to be b'simcha, be patient, be mevater when that calls for, when it's called for, and specifically when it comes to tefillah, which we know is b'makim korban, represents korbanos, right? So our korbanos today are the tefillahs. So the Eibush to help, Yiratzon Fanech, Hashem should help us all be makriv our korbanos with the right intention, lishma, without any pigul, without any distractions, to be zeicha, to come on time to daven, to focus, to be immersed with kavanah, without the phone distracting us, and maybe be zeicha to ascend higher and higher with all these korbanos, to get to the greatest levels of dveikus b'Hashem, which after all the word korban means dveikus, like l'karib, right, to bring close, as the Ramban explains in Parshas Vayikra. Maybe we all be zeicha to the highest forms of kirva, until the pinnacle of vani kirvas elikim, litoiv, b'simcha, with gesund, with nachas, with parnasa, with hatzlacha, in all areas, ad b'yes gel tzedek. It's been a great pleasure learning this wonderful Masechta together. May Hashem help us continue learning. Ad v'yes gel tzedek, meher b'meinu, amen. Thank you so much.
no sis besoy satoyro ki hilanu oy yoyro oy zeyro no gilven no sis besoy satoyro ki hilanu oy yoyro I know gilven no sis besoy satoyro ki hilanu oy yoyro oy zeyro no gilven no sis besoy satoyro ki hilanu oy yoyro No,